What happens with the remains of 28 others is still more unclear. They have until Thursday to find all of the remains.
If you're joining our live coverage now, we're seeing our first images now of President Trump as he's arrived here at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel. He will address the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament. He's being greeted now by the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, an ally obviously in the region, and someone he negotiated with intensely over the last few months to get this deal, this first phase of the peace plan with Hamas. Also on hand, as we've mentioned before, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, Ivanka, his daughter, and Steve Witkoff, his special envoy to the Middle East, who really has been coordinating a lot of the negotiations, both here and in Qatar, to get to that place where they could agree, at least on paper, right, Richard? They could agree that at the first phase, they'll release the hostages. Israel will pull back from Gaza. Maybe the most important part, maybe the most sensitive part, but the most complicated part is going to happen in phase two. What happens to Gaza? What happens to the Israeli military there? And who is in charge?
All of those are open questions. Some of them still need to be negotiated. The Israeli military is calling this Operation Returning Home. And I believe now our first image is the president.
We are seeing President Trump. He's just made that 10-hour journey from Washington, D.C. here to Israel right now. Here in Hostage Square, they are applauding every time they see him. They applaud. He's being greeted again by the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, here. It's unclear if he'll speak right away. The president at times does speak to the press. If he sees some cameras, he'll come up and talk. We don't have any plans of that right now, at least not on the schedule, but with President Trump, you never really know. Richard, this is an incredible day. 2 years in the making. Those hostages have lived in hell for 2 years, tortured, starved. The 20 living right now, hopefully, will be back in Israel, at least in a few hours. And you can hear people here in Hostage Square saying, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, President Trump, as he's greeting Benjamin Netanyahu. We're watching a live feed as well here in Hostage Square. It's being broadcast all over the square. Tens of thousands are here. Israeli flags in the air. Lots of smiles, lots of cheers. People are in a joyous mode. It's tough to describe, right, Richard, because this is still a war. More than 60,000 have died in Gaza. 1,200 died in Israel in that initial terrorist attack. And there are still the remains, right, of 28 other Israelis and members of other countries, the remains that have to be negotiated and brought back into Israel.
The future of Gaza remains unclear. What will happen to Hamas? It will have to be rebuilt almost entirely. The infrastructure is completely destroyed. As you mentioned, more than 60,000 killed, 67,000 plus, and every day they are finding more and more bodies under the rubble. But what is happening now is a crucial step because Israel has made it clear the rest of the deal will not move forward unless this is successful, unless these 20 hostages come out today alive, without fanfare, and are handed over to their families. The rest of the deal is blocked. So far, it does seem to be successful. They are coming out. They appear to be in good health. Now President Trump is here, and as you can see, he is being cheered and given that hero's welcome you were anticipating.
And we were just looking at President Trump there being greeted by the ambassador to Israel from the United States, Ambassador Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, also a very close ally to President Trump in both his terms. We should also mention, Richard, because this was important, you said from what we understand, the 7 hostages that were given up, they appear to be in, we can't say good health, but they appear to be well enough to sort of be taken out and then taken to the hospital.
Just to briefly tell you the story of one hostage. I've gotten to know, as all of Israel has gotten to know, these hostages by name. Yeah. Their pictures are all over the country. They are, I don't want to say national heroes, but they have become national symbols.
Yes.
Everyone knows their story. Yeah. And today, a brother who I spoke to just a couple of days is receiving his brother on October 7th. They were together at the Nova Music Festival when Hamas militants came down from paragliders and started opening fire, killing and kidnapping as many people as they could. They got separated in the melee. One was taken, one made it out. Today, they're going to be back together. And those kind of emotional stories are important for that family, obviously, but they are being felt by all the people in the square. Anyone here will tell you that they feel like a part of a collective family that is being reunited.
Yeah. Here at Hostage Square, there, we see the flags and we see the cheering. We also see photos of all those hostages that line the square that Israel has never forgotten. We also see sort of memories of the October 7th terrorist attack, horrific memories, burnt out cars and other sort of artifacts of a very dark history for this country from that attack.
Just behind us, off camera, there is a model of one of the tunnels. So it's made of paper mache and cement, but people could come here and put themselves inside one of the tunnels to get a sense of what it might be like. There have been empty tables set up with place settings and empty glasses to receive the hostages when they come back. This has been a place to reflect the Israelis' emotions throughout this time with these rotating symbolic exhibits, and also a place for the families of hostages to gather, to express their opinions, for people to come in solidarity. There have been anti-government protests here, a lot of anger directed against Prime Minister Netanyahu for not getting this deal done sooner, but now also a lot of joy for President Trump. They credit him more than Netanyahu for getting this deal done.
I do want to bring in our chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander, who's reporting today from Jerusalem. Peter, some people are going to see Jared Kushner here, of course, his wife, Ivanka Trump. Jared, no formal role, right, in this administration, but a key negotiator and a key ally to the president, advisor to him in this region, and someone who's also received a lot of credit, both from the Israelis, from the Qataris, on negotiating this deal.
Yeah, Tom, that's exactly right. Jared Kushner working hand in hand with the special envoy, Steve Witkoff. We saw the president greeting his special envoy just moments ago. Now he's walking besides Benjamin Netanyahu and the president, which is a ceremonial position in this country, Isaac Herzog. We should note that President Trump will be told by Herzog, we have learned when he arrives here at the Knesset later, that he is going to be awarded with Israel's highest honor, the Presidential Medal of Honor, which will be delivered to President Trump at another date, but he will learn that today. Notably, we've also learned from the president of Egypt, President El-Sisi, that President Trump, upon his arrival there, will be receiving what is known as the Nile necklace, the highest state honor in that country. But back to the conversation you were having about Witkoff and Jared Kushner. I did speak to Steve Witkoff. We exchanged messages a short time ago. I asked him for his thoughts, and he gave his first comments to NBC News saying, "I wondered if I would ever see this day. It is deeply gratifying to know that so many families will finally have their loved ones home." Witkoff, in his message to me, said that it's an act of dignity that must be completed for the return of those remains so that the other families can be at peace. And he noted that it reminded him of his own son, Andrew, who died at the age of 22 in 2011 of an opioid overdose. He felt sort of the pain through his own experience that many of these families have felt in the course of this loss. Separately, you saw the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, of course, as you noted, familiar to many people back at home, as the former governor of Arkansas, of course, also the father of President Trump's first press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, second, I should say, after Sean Spicer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who served in the president's first term. Huckabee posting a short time ago that this moment, these images were to him like the moon landing. He said, in effect, it's when time freezes. And I think that really is a good way to describe the feeling, the sentiment that we are hearing from people throughout this area. I woke up this morning, saw an Israeli American who was walking through the streets, and I asked her how she was feeling today. Her face was glowing. She says, "It is amazing. We never thought this day would come." This is a day that they have certainly dreamed of, a day the president has worked toward for a long time. President Biden certainly did, but couldn't get it over the finish line before his departure. 105 of those hostages were released during his term, but of course, the final hostages, the last 20, with 7 already in the hands of the Israelis and their families now, 13 more expected today, will make that final journey home. And even those who served in the previous administration acknowledge that President Trump deserves a ton of credit for the success he's had in that effort.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.